Hi, my name's Andrew, and I'll be presenting Old Quebec. Made a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 1985, Old Quebec sits along the banks of the St. Lawrence River in Canada. The town is the oldest section of Quebec City, the capital of Quebec. It's also the most well-preserved fortified town north of Mexico, upholding its colonial-style architecture for over 400 years. Old Quebec is the birthplace of New France, and the center of French culture and history in North America. There's a definite French influence over the city. In fact, 95% of Quebecers speak French. Old Quebec is divided into an upper town that sits on top of a large cliff and a lower town which sits right along the banks of the St. Lawrence. Quebec was originally founded as a trading post by French explorer Samuel de Champlain in 1608. The city was built on a strategic location. With a large cliff overlooking the St. Lawrence, it was possible for cannons to fire across the river and prevent enemy ships from going further downriver. This made the city a natural fortress, and over the years, the town grew rapidly and became the capital of New France, while the French, British, and Americans all vied for control over the city. During the French and Indian War in 1759, the British won a decisive battle against the French just outside the city walls, in the Plains of Abraham. Just a few years later, the French and Indian War ended, and France had to give all its lands in North America to Great Britain. However, the people of Quebec were allowed to stay. During the early 19th century, Quebec City became rich from the logging industry, but fell into hard times during the late 19th century. In the 1870s, the city of Quebec was in the process of tearing down the old fortifications, but Lord Dufferin intervened and renovated the old walls, keeping the charm of the old city. In 1985, Old Quebec was named a World Heritage Site by UNESCO. Many of the buildings here are centuries old and give the city its unique charm. The lower town was historically where merchants stayed, since it was closer to the river and port, which was the main transportation method at the time. Located in the lower town, Petit Champlain Street is one of the oldest commercial streets in North America. It's one of many shopping streets in the city, and it's filled with charming colonial-style architecture and lined with many small shops and restaurants. The Place Royale Square sits just down Petit Champlain Street. This is the exact spot where Samuel de Champlain founded Quebec in 1608, and is considered the birthplace of New France. The buildings surrounding the square have both French and British architectural influences, and at the end of the square is the Notre Dame de Victoire Church, or Our Lady of Victories. It's the oldest stone church in North America, built in 1688. The upper town sits on top of a plateau overlooking the St. Lawrence River. The whole upper town is surrounded by fortifications and walls, and the administrative and religious buildings are usually located in this part of town. The Chateau Frontenac, built by the Canadian Pacific Railroad Company in 1893, is a grand hotel and a famous icon of Old Quebec. It sits on top of the plateau in the upper town, and is considered the most photographed hotel in the entire world. Adjacent to the hotel is the Plains of Abraham, an urban park which sits on the same ground as the battle of the same name in 1759. Lying at the top of the plateau, the Citadelle du Québec is a star fort built between 1820 and 1850 to defend the city. It is the biggest example of a British fortress in North America, and is still an active military installment as well as a tourist attraction. Inside the fortress is a museum dedicated to the fort, as well as the military history in the area. In the center of Old Quebec is the Basilica Cathedral Notre Dame du Québec, or Our Lady of Quebec. This was the first Catholic church north of the Spanish colonies, and was built in 1674. The church is a work of art. It's a beautiful cathedral, and it's steeped in history. In short, Old Quebec was the center of New France, and it's an extremely historic town with a charming colonial atmosphere and a strong French influence. Thank you for your time.